Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about on unlocking leadership. Start with why leadership doesn't begin with authority. It doesn't begin with metrics or even plans. Leadership begins with clarity, and that clarity always starts with why. Why do you do what you do? Why does your work matter? Why should anyone care enough to follow you, support you, or give their energy to what you've built? Most people can tell you what they do. Some can explain how they do it, but very few can clearly, passionately, and confidently articulate why. And yet, it's the why that inspires people. It's the why that stirs something in the human heart. The why gives our actions meaning beyond the task. Without it, we're just checking boxes. With it, we're building something that matters. When you start with why, you tap into something far deeper than process. You tap into belief. And belief is what moves people. It's what turns coworkers into collaborators, employees into evangelists, and customers into communities. People want to feel like they're part of something that goes beyond transactions. They want to believe their work matters. They want to contribute to something they're proud of. And that begins with a leader who doesn't just explain what needs to be done, but why it matters in the first place. In every industry, from tech to education to healthcare to sports, we see the same truth play out. Those who communicate why they exist are more resilient, more trusted, and more followed than those who only talk about results. A company that says we build software might get attention, but a company that says we exist to make human connection easier in a digital world, that's a mission. That's something you want to be part of. That's a why. And the same applies on a personal level. Think of the leaders you've admired in your own life. Coaches, teachers, mentors, bosses, chances are the ones who had the most lasting impact on you were the ones who made you feel like your work and your why mattered. They didn't just assign tasks. They helped you see purpose. They didn't just give you orders. They gave you ownership, and that ownership begins with a reason. There is a remarkable power that comes from being able to articulate your purpose, not just to others, but to yourself, because when challenges come and they will, it's your why that steadies you. When results lag, when motivation dips, when the obstacles stack high, you don't rise from the what or the how. You rise from the why. The why gives you resilience because it is bigger than a single project or a quarterly report. It's not about crossing a finish line. It's about running in the direction of something meaningful. And when people feel that their work is part of a larger story, a more significant mission, they don't need to be pushed. They're pulled. They're driven. They're engaged not just intellectually, but emotionally. But here's the truth, starting with why takes courage. It requires you to go beneath the surface. It means asking hard questions about your motivations, your values, your true intentions. It means being vulnerable enough to admit what drives you. And that vulnerability is where trust begins. Because people don't follow perfection, they follow sincerity. They follow someone who believes in something deeply and is willing to stand for it. In today's world, it's easy to confuse urgency with leadership. Targets loom, numbers are reported, and every decision is calculated in terms of output and return. But focusing solely on performance turns people into tools. They become lines on a spreadsheet, resources to be managed, or roles to be optimized. The problem is people aren't tools. They have lives, emotions, stories, struggles. They bring more than skills, they bring humanity. And when you lead from that awareness, something powerful happens. Performance no longer has to be extracted. It becomes a natural result of connection. Putting people over performance doesn't mean ignoring goals. It means recognizing that high performance is best achieved through healthy culture. It's understanding that when people feel psychologically safe, they take more initiative. When they feel seen and appreciated, they bring more of themselves to the work. And when they know they can speak up without fear of ridicule or retribution, creativity flourishes. The best leaders understand that their primary responsibility isn't to drive results, it's to create the conditions where great results are possible. They invest in relationships. They ask questions that go beyond deadlines. How are you doing? What do you need to succeed? What's getting in your way? These may sound like small gestures, but in the life of someone who feels unseen or unheard, they mean everything. A culture that places people first is one where compassion and accountability coexist. It's not about letting standards slip. It's about setting high expectations and giving people the support to rise to them. It's about helping someone grow, not through fear, but through belief. When people know you believe in them, they push harder not because they have to, but because they want to honor the trust you've given them. And when crisis hits, as it inevitably does, it's people, first leaders, who hold teams together. Because they've built trust in the good times, their teams stay resilient in the hard ones. When layoffs loom, or when change hits, or when uncertainty rattles the norm, people aren't just looking for direction. They're looking for reassurance. They're asking, does my leader care about me? Do I still belong here? Is this still a safe place for me to grow? And if the answer is yes, if the leader has invested in people all along, then the team doesn't fracture. It unites. It's important to understand that putting people first is not about grand gestures or company-wide slogans. It's found in the everyday decisions, the tone in a meeting, the patience shown in a mistake, the acknowledgement after a job well done. It's in how we listen, how we respond, how we lead in silence, not just in spotlight. These moments either reinforce dignity or erode it, and over time they define the kind of culture we lead. People over performance means asking yourself as a leader, do I care about this person beyond what they do for me? Do I know their strengths, their struggles, their goals? Do they feel safe in my presence? Do they feel like their voice matters? Because if the answer is no, then you don't have a performance problem, you have a leadership one. There is a deep power in servant leadership. It creates loyalty that can't be bought and respect that doesn't need to be demanded. People naturally follow those who put them first. When a leader sacrifices their comfort for the sake of the team, when they carry the load so others can catch their breath, when they ask how they can help instead of what they can get, it transforms everything. It turns hierarchy into humanity. It builds trust that goes deeper than titles or roles. We often celebrate those who shine, the star performers, the visionaries, the ones with the spotlight on them. But behind every spotlight moment are countless unseen acts of service, the late-night check-ins, the private encouragement, the quiet sacrifices. These are the moments that define real leadership. Not the stage, but the support. Not the applause, but the advocacy. Being the first to serve means showing up before it's required. It's cleaning up what others ignore. It's listening when others are too busy. It's mentoring when there's nothing to gain. It's giving credit away even when you played a central role. It's understanding that lifting someone else doesn't lower you. In fact, it strengthens the entire team. It builds a culture where people look out for one another, where no one is too important to do the small things, and where leadership is shared, not hoarded. The first to serve creates a ripple effect. When people witness selfless leadership, they mirror it. Service becomes contagious. Generosity becomes normal. The leader sets the tone not by commanding others to serve, but by embodying it. And when that culture is established, everything changes. People go the extra mile not because they're told to, but because they've seen it modeled. They become accountable to something bigger than themselves. This kind of leadership isn't glamorous. You won't always be noticed. Your efforts won't always be recognized. But leadership has never been about being noticed. It's about making a difference. It's about doing what's right when it's hard, standing in the gap when others step back, and putting your ego aside so someone else can rise. To serve first also means knowing when to be quiet, when to listen, when to let someone else take the lead. It means being confident enough to step back so others can shine. That's a paradox few are willing to embrace. But that's exactly what separates true leaders from those who only wear the title. Ego seeks the spotlight, service seeks impact, and over time, impact lasts longer than attention ever will. Leadership built on service doesn't chase popularity, it chases purpose. It doesn't demand appreciation. It creates alignment. It's rooted in humility, and humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. It's using your strength to protect, your voice to empower, and your position to elevate others. When you're the first to serve, you become the foundation others can stand on. You become the reason someone else believes in themselves again. You become the difference between a team that survives and a team that thrives. Leadership is not about ease. It's not about certainty, popularity, or convenience. Leadership is about doing the right thing, especially when it's hard. It's about standing firm when the ground shakes, speaking up when silence is safer, and choosing growth even when it hurts. At its core, leadership is the daily decision to choose courage over comfort. Comfort is tempting. It whispers to stay quiet, play it safe, avoid the risk. It offers the illusion of control, of stability. But nothing great has ever been built from a place of comfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Telling the truth is uncomfortable. But all of these are necessary for real leadership to happen. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward in spite of it. Leaders feel fear like everyone else. They doubt, they hesitate, they question themselves. The difference is they do not let those feelings define their actions. Courage says, this is uncomfortable, but it matters more than my comfort. Courage says, this is difficult, but it's the right thing. That's where transformation begins. There are moments in every leader's life when the easy thing and the right thing are not the same. Maybe it's confronting a toxic behavior that everyone else ignores. Maybe it's standing alone with a decision no one agrees with yet. Maybe it's admitting a mistake when your reputation is on the line. In those moments, courage costs something. It may cost approval. It may cost popularity. It may cost peace of mind. But what it gives back is integrity, self-respect, and the trust of those who matter most. Courage over comfort means leaning into hard conversations instead of avoiding them. It means choosing vulnerability over image. It means owning your truth rather than borrowing someone else's. And it means acknowledging what you don't know, being open to learning, and being willing to be wrong. That's not weakness. That's strength at its most raw and honest. When leaders choose courage, they create space for others to do the same. They model what it looks like to take risks, to admit fear, to be human. And in that space, others feel free to bring their full selves. Innovation happens. Connection happens. Trust grows. Because people don't want perfect leaders. They want real ones. Leaders who bleed when they fall but rise again with purpose. Leaders who say, I don't have all the answers, but I won't hide from the questions. Comfort often keeps teams stuck. It creates environments where people are afraid to challenge ideas, afraid to share bold thoughts, afraid to fail. And where there is fear of failure, there is also a fear of greatness, because greatness always comes through trial, through resilience, through stepping into unknown territory. Leadership that avoids discomfort breeds stagnation. Leadership that embraces courage sparks evolution. To lead with courage is to be willing to be misunderstood, to be willing to go first, to be willing to carry the weight of what others are not ready to hold. It means being the one who raises the hard issues, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. It means pushing beyond the status quo, even when the status quo is comfortable and predictable. Courage over comfort also means choosing long-term impact over short-term relief. Comfort says stay quiet and let it pass. Courage says speak up and create change. Comfort says go along to get along. Courage says stand up, even if you stand alone. Comfort says protect your image. Courage says protect your values. And leadership without values is nothing more than management in disguise. The most courageous leaders are not reckless, they are resolute. They know the risks. They understand the consequences. And they move forward anyway because their mission is bigger than their fear. They would rather face discomfort in the service of progress than stay comfortable and watch their potential go to waste. Trust is not built in a single moment. It is not the result of one inspiring speech, one impressive decision, or one successful project. Trust is built through repetition, through the things we do over and over again, especially when no one is watching. In leadership, the most powerful force is not charisma or talent, it's consistency. People don't trust what's unpredictable. They trust what they can count on. And in a world full of shifting priorities, inconsistent messages, and unstable leadership, consistency becomes the quiet but unshakable foundation of credibility. It's not glamorous. It doesn't demand applause. But over time, it builds something stronger than any grand gesture ever could. Belief. Demand applause. But over time, it builds something stronger than any grand gesture ever could. Belief. Consistency means showing up not just once, not just when it's easy, but over and over again. It means your actions match your words even when it's inconvenient. It means your values don't change based on the room you're in or the pressure you're under. It means people know who they're getting when you walk in the door. They don't have to wonder which version of you is going to show up today because you've proven that who you are is not conditional, it's dependable. Great leadership is rooted in reliability. It's in the leader who keeps their promises, not just the ones they make publicly, but the quiet ones made in passing. It's in the leader who gives feedback fairly, not just when it's easy or popular. It's in the leader who treats every person with respect, whether they're at the top of the ladder or just starting out. These patterns become predictable, and from that predictability, trust is born. Consistency also breeds psychological safety. When people know how you'll respond, when they trust that you will be honest, fair, and present, they stop bracing for impact. They stop protecting themselves and start performing at their best because they know they're not walking on eggshells. They're walking with a leader who is steady, grounded, and committed. Inconsistent leaders create confusion. They force teams to guess, to adapt constantly, to interpret silence or tone like a code. That drains energy and erodes confidence. But when consistency is present, clarity follows. Expectations are clear, standards are clear. Behavior is aligned, and people can focus on growth instead of survival. They feel like they're part of something solid, something they can trust even when circumstances around them are uncertain. Consistency is also about emotional discipline. It's about not reacting out of frustration, not leading with your mood, not allowing personal chaos to spill over into professional spaces. That doesn't mean being robotic. It means being emotionally responsible. It means being the person others can lean on even when the pressure is high. Because trust isn't built through emotional outbursts. It's built through emotional maturity. And consistency in how you handle pressure teaches people they can rely on you, especially when stakes are high. One of the greatest marks of consistent leadership is how you handle the small things. Do you follow through on the little commitments? Do you return the calls you said you would? Do you prepare for the meetings the way you ask others to? These things may seem insignificant, but they add up. Inconsistency in the small things creates doubt in the big ones. People wonder, if I can't trust them with the details, how can I trust them with the direction? Leadership is not defined by occasional excellence, it's defined by habitual integrity. You don't need to be perfect to be trusted, but you do need to be consistent. Because over time, people don't remember everything you said, they remember how you made them feel, and whether your behavior made them feel safe, respected, and supported. The most trusted leaders aren't always the loudest or the most charismatic. They're the ones who've proven day after day that their word means something, that their presence can be counted on, and that their standards never waver when tested. Leadership is not about the spotlight. It's not about the title, the accolades, or the applause. Leadership is about impact that outlives you. It's about the mark you leave when you're no longer in the room. The real measure of leadership is not what people say about you when you're present, it's what they carry forward when you're gone. That is legacy. And it only happens when you choose legacy over ego is loud. It seeks validation. It wants recognition, control, and credit. It craves being the smartest, the most important, the center of everything. Ego asks, what do I get? Legacy asks, what do I leave behind? The ego is concerned with being remembered. Legacy is concerned with what is remembered. And that's a crucial difference. Choosing legacy over ego means making decisions that benefit the future, even if they cost you something in the present. It means building people, not just products. It means creating systems that work without you, cultures that thrive beyond you, and teams that grow stronger because of the seeds you planted, not the attention you demanded. There is a quiet humility in legacy-minded leadership. It doesn't rush to be seen. It doesn't interrupt to be heard. It's less interested in being right and more focused on doing right. When a leader operates from legacy, their question is not how do I win, but how do we last? It's not how can I look successful today, but what foundation am I laying for tomorrow? The problem with ego-driven leadership is that often creates short-term momentum but long-term fragility. Teams built around ego become dependent on the leader's presence. When that presence disappears, the structure crumbles. But teams built around legacy grow stronger with time. They are empowered, resilient, and capable. That's because the leader invested not in attention but in people, not in power but in principles. Legacy over ego also changes how you handle influence. It wants to hoard it. Legacy shares it. Ego wants to be the only voice. Legacy raises new voices. Ego wants followers. Legacy creates leaders. This mindset shift transforms everything. It means mentoring instead of managing. It means preparing people to take your place, not fearing that they will. A legacy leader knows that the ultimate success is not being indispensable, it's becoming unnecessary because others have risen up. It's in the conversations where you listen more than you speak, in the decisions where you take the long road instead of the shortcut, in the moments where you step back so someone else can step up. It's in the values you reinforce, the culture you defend, and the dignity you preserve, not just for the powerful but for everyone. Legacy over ego means embracing the idea that the most important things you build may not have your name on them. They may not be linked to your image, your platform, or your reputation, but they will matter, they will endure, and they will speak for you long after you've moved on, not with a spotlight, but with strength. Not with noise, but with meaning. Not with ego, but with evidence of a life led in service of something greater than self.